special episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're driving to Chattanooga.
That's right, John. We're driving to Chattanooga, and we're just going to be shooting the shit. Answering some, because we don't typically respond to a lot of the comments on the videos, because it gives me anxiety and heart attacks.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do that now, live. I'm gonna read it. I'll read some comments to Johnny, and we're gonna respond to them.
We'll answer questions if they have questions, or we'll just tell you why they are great or terrible comments.
Yeah. So we'll first start off with this one went viral. The John Morgan Monument did pretty good. A lot of people had some comments on it, like the first one. That's if you didn't see the Tickety Talk or the YouTube short, it's we took a picture of a monument in Versailles, Indiana.
All right, let's address that first of all. People think we're seeking this stuff out. I live in Versailles.
Yeah, lives in Versailles.
They
got like 8 monuments to Morgan in Versailles.
He was in town for 3 hours. All right.
No shots fired. Nobody died.
Settle down. We're not trying to have stuff removed. We don't care.
Yeah.
We just think it's funny. I didn't do anything.
We got the statues up for him.
Mascot after him.
So first comment. This was my favorite. To set the record straight, he is an American general who fought against slavery.
Hold up.
No, he didn't. No, he wasn't.
He was. Why? Literally for the Confederacy he fought.
Yeah, for the Confederacy. Yeah, he was an American general before the war, and then seceded.
Did he fight against slavery before?
To a rebellion, belligerent nation, because they're not a real country.
No, yeah.
Always
was American, so that's true.
He owned 30 slaves, so it's kind of hard to say you fought against slavery while owning 30 people, and. Yeah, he's.
So I don't know. They confused him.
A little confused.
Else,
yeah, you think there might have been a Union John Morgan.
That's
that they're probably thinking of.
Lincoln's right hand man, that nobody remembers except for that one person.
There's you belong to this nation. It's your history. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, it is history.
Which is fine. And we remember Morgan's raid and the path he took and everything else. But he didn't do anything in Versailles.
No.
He had the Union hot on his tail. And so he said, hey, don't bother robbing all the Freemasons or whatever. Give it back, I guess. I don't know. I'm guessing he just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. Because he had people after him and he didn't have time to rob everybody. We pretend that he did us some favor.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments on these Democrat memorials, and the Democrats really sucked with that. And those Democrats, and yes,
that's fine. And those Democrats are not today's Democrats.
No, these are different political parties today. But everybody does like to point out that the Democrats own slaves. Which sure,
yes,
sure
okay,
did.
That's great.
Cool. Thanks. Thanks for that. This one, Hillbilly Jed. 1318, which tells you everything you need to know right there. It says, don't forget about all the black slave owners and Native Americans that fought for the South. So first...
Why not? Why don't forget about them, first of all? Why does that make other slavery okay and better?
It doesn't. Okay. Yeah, but yes, black, with that record straight, black people owned slaves. Sure did. Most of them were in New Orleans, and New Orleans is not the same South slave population that exists elsewhere, so you got to keep that in mind. And also, they're pieces of shit too. They own. I'm sorry. I don't see
all the Africans who sold Africans into slavery.
Also, also pieces of shit too. And
the Indians that did it, pieces of shit.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse the existence of that as an institution either. And I'm going to point out there that no black slave owners fought for the Confederacy. Just go ahead and say it. Didn't happen.
Well,
didn't fight.
To be fair, probably no white slave owners fought for the Confederacy either.
Very true. And then the Native Americans that fought for the South. Let's address that too. Sure, a handful. In the Confederate Army, 5%, the entire Confederate Army was either foreign-born or not white. And by not white, I mean natives. And that's it, just 5%. And of those natives, it was mostly Cherokee by Stan Whitey, and he was a slave owner. And he seceded from the Cherokee Nation because they didn't want him to have slaves anymore, and he still wanted to have slaves. So he seceded from Cherokee.
He was also wrong.
So sure.
I just don't get the point of this. What are you trying to get at?
I have no idea. none whatsoever. This one, you're going to whine enough to get it taken down. No, you're not going to whine enough to care. I think it's funny that we have a stupid monument. That's why we did the little.
Well, I think it's funny that the little rock they did with in 1824 or something like that, they put a rock up, and then that wasn't enough, so then they put a sign up next to it, and that wasn't enough, so just around the corner they put another sign up.
And that wasn't enough, so just there's eight
yeah.
monuments to Morgan's raid in Versailles.
Not much has happened in that city apparently.
8.
that's
And then the city named its school mascot the Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah. After Morgan's Raiders.
After Morgan's Raiders.
Their mascot's like dude on a horse getting ready to raid, I guess.
Yeah, it looks like Morgan.
And their name troop is the Young Confederates. So I don't. What do you?
This comment is really I don't. So it's by black trans lesbian immigrant.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And it says, imagine living back then with slavery and no gender affirmation surgery. Sad face.
Okay, that's sad. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean,
I think that's just a genuine comment.
Okay. So
I think they're just sad.
It would suck to live with slavery.
How fucking awful it would be to live during slavery and then also have gender dysphoria or whatever and not, be able to be yourself. Like, yeah, that's bad. I think they're just being genuine.
Yeah, I guess.
Or a really bad troll if they are trolling in some way, because I don't get it if it's not just a genuine comment.
But then there's a response to that where it says anyone who doesn't want a slave doesn't get it.
What?
And then they're laughing. So that's taking it in a completely different direction.
What?
And I think if you're making those comments, it's kind of, I think we know what's going on with those people. So there is that. So there's those ones. Let's just go down general other comments here. Let's find some other threads. Riveting television right now while I pull up a different video thread.
Alright, which one are we doing next?
Let's just find a different one.
I think one that has a decent amount of comments.
Yeah, let's go with we're gonna track down to the Lee Memorial when I talked about Lee's Memorial in Gettysburg, because this one has 100 comments that talk about holy shit, was that one?
I don't know if I want to do this one again.
We're gonna do this one because it's gonna be so much fun. I just gotta find a stupid video while we get it up and have riveting entertainment.
So Tony was mad about this mostly because of the size.
The thing is ridiculously large.
Massive monument. And so he was upset about that. And the fact that we're glorifying Southern generals on a northern battlefield that he lost. That's all it is. So, and clearly in the description it says Gettysburg. Yeah. And there was a lot of confused comments about it being south of the Mason-Dixon line and being a part of the South. I think a lot of people just don't know where Gettysburg is.
That could be it. Hey, Tennessee! We're in Tennessee. We're almost to the Chattanoogas.
Halfway to Chattanooga.
There we go.
Just gotta go all the way down.
So first comment. How come if the South lost, we still have slavery in America? At least 50% anyway, because that much of my wages go to the government and unconditional taxes.
Okay, this is a lot to unpack.
It's a little bit.
First of all, the South lost.
They sure did. There's no disputing that. Moreover, hey, we have people joining us.
Yeah, they did lose. It's not an if. They literally signed papers. So that's, what are you doing?
Yeah, definitely happened.
And saying that slavery exists because you have to pay 50% taxes, which that seems like you're in a bad tax bracket.
That's a very bad tax bracket. I don't know if anybody was paying 50%.
Anyway, that's not slavery.
That's also not slavery.
It's still not slavery.
No.
Can you leave that job?
Sure can.
Oh, then you're not a slave.
Can you choose not to pay taxes? You sure can.
Sure.
There are consequences. There are consequences. But you sure cannot. Yeah.
That doesn't mean. There is still slavery in the world today, and in the United States, I'm sure, lots of places.
It's not legal. It's not. Do we have a comment?
We gotta check them. I think they welcomed us to Tennessee. Thank you very much.
Sure. Hey, Brett. If you've got questions for us, we can answer your questions too while we chitty chat. hey, we're there. Anyways, this one's really good. If they really lost, why do so many Americans still cry about it? That's a good question.
Again, if they really
it's
lost.
It's not if they lost. They did lose. And typically the people who are crying about the Civil War are still the Southerners that like to keep putting up monuments.
Well, it's all the idiots who are waving around the loser's flag. Like, what? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I, for one, don't care about the Civil War anymore.
I enjoy this.
I just got drug into this.
Yeah, he did. And it was a really good idea that we started this project with the whole, like, following the Civil War in real time. And then you forget that it goes on for 4.5 years. And
there's a reason they only teach you about, like, 8 battles.
Because that's all
that's
that
it.
matters.
That's all that happened. The rest is just people kind of shooting at each other.
We got G.T. Home, who decided went out, not that Grant owned a slave or anything. And you're right. G.T. Home, Grant inherited a slave through his wife's marriage and then freed him.
Also, then he was a general for the North and wasn't a traitorous piece of shit. So what do you want there?
And then as president, fought against the KKK and destroyed the KKK. So,
but he did own one slave for a short period of time. So
all right, Brett,
all the good stuff.
Sit back, relax, enjoy us bitching about lost causers. One of the most ironic videos I've seen, which, yeah, I mean, it is kind of, because they're in the North and they're all that fun stuff. This shit should be in a museum. There's a lot of, like, put the monuments in museums. How big of a fucking museum would it? I don't think people understand the scale of that monument, the Virginia Monument right at Pickett's Charge. It is ridiculously large.
Yeah. But so what? They kind of did. That's what they made the Gettysburg battlefield a museum, essentially. That's
it's
what
a museum.
they did. So that doesn't make sense.
If you think the Confederates were bad, look up the story of Jack Henson. They were defending their land like any other country. I did look up Jack Henson. He wasn't
defending their land.
I don't get it.
No, they were defending land that they stole from the North.
Yeah,
or were trying to steal.
Yeah.
That had rightfully stolen from the natives.
Because, it's not like it was a southern battlefield. They were defending their land. They invaded the North at that particular battlefield. Again, it's in the descriptions on that comment that it was Gettysburg. So I'm confused why people think it's not.
Oh, boy.
We did have NC Clellan call out all the people who thought it was Virginia. He goes, I'm seeing a lot of comments about Virginia. This video was made in Pennsylvania. You know why? Because the creator said it was made in Pennsylvania. It's so great.
It's just such an easy thing to look up too. If you're like, oh, Gettysburg, hey, isn't that in Virginia? And you could not look like an idiot online.
There is a lot of hostility whenever I bring up Lee, and people like to point out that he was such a great general. Lee was a great general. He very much would have fought for the Union if Virginia, his home state, wouldn't have seceded, which...
I got about 3 paragraphs on my phone of Tommy telling me why that's not true.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what they said. I didn't read it.
We have a whole video on why Lee was shit in the comments. And long story short, he lost as many battles as he won, so that's not really what you would consider a great general if he's losing as much as he's winning. And he won no offensive campaigns during the Civil War. So
500 records gonna get you fired if you're a head coach of anything.
Yep, sure would. This one was fun. He was an American. Get over it.
What?
Cool. Yeah. I didn't say.
All right. Well, then why was he trying to not be?
Lee wasn't an American.
what do you do?
Now, this one was a good comment thread. There was a report, so we should just automatically forget that he was a brutal slave owner. The response to that was, nope, tearing down history has only ever led in one direction, and it's about the least fun one that you can go. Which, by the way, nobody's going to forget the Civil War happened or didn't happen based on whether or not there are memorials to the South or the North. And the funniest thing is,
well,
I looked it up.
You know what, Tommy? You want to know what? I just thought of this. You want to know why they want to keep the memorials up as a remembrance of the Civil War? Because they want to burn all the fucking books.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And so they want to just be able to tell all the history with a monument because they want the books gone. So.
You're probably right.
So that's where they're coming from.
I looked it up. You don't see a lot of northern memorials to northern soldiers in the South. In fact, there is not a single monument to Sherman anywhere between Atlanta and through the march through the Georgia, through the sea, any of that. Like, there's not, you got one marker that says, Sherman's march started here, but there's no statue of Sherman. So if you're all about like not destroying history or not forgetting about history, why don't we put Sherman? Why don't we put Sherman right up there and have himself with a little memorial there?
Well, because it's just a reminder of history, right? It's not trying to prove a point to anybody.
Yeah, no,
it's just a matter of history and nothing more.
The monuments are there to honor the fallen Confederate soldiers. My great-great-grandpa fought for the Confederacy, so you were being malicious towards everyone who fought in the CSA, calling them slavers. What? Yeah.
Yep. I think your great-great-grandfather was probably a jackass.
Yeah, yep. He didn't have to own slaves to still be a slaver. And
hey, guess what? Not all the Nazi soldiers wanted to be in the army either, but
no, but they were.
They still did it.
Yeah.
Not freaking.
The comments right here was, no, he's calling General Lee a slaveholder, which, yeah, sure shit was. Because he was. He owned over 200 men, women, and children. Sure did.
A lot of people.
Which, by the way, to clarify that up, you get a lot of lost cause or say Lee didn't own slaves because he didn't go out and personally purchase the slaves, which is true. He didn't go out and personally purchase slaves. He married a relative of George Washington who owned a shit ton of slaves, and when George Custis died, he gave all the property and slaves to Lee with the explicit directions to free them after 5 years, which Lee did not.
What?
Did not do. Did not do that.
Did he just lose track of time?
Probably just forgot. The war started, maybe.
Thought it said 50 years?
Maybe. Yeah, it could have been a lost in translation there.
Yeah, some confusion.
This one, my great-great-great-grandfather, a lot of great-great-greats. So either our population that watches us is a lot younger than I think they would be, or I don't think they understand.
Or
wasn't all that
their racist family lied to them.
Yeah, it could be that too. Anyways, my great-great-great-grandfather fought for the Confederacy, and although I do not support slavery, segregation, or racism, I believe the monument should stay up to honor all those Confederate soldiers who lost their license of war. But
to honor all those traitors. You know what? We should build monuments to the 9/11 bombers so that we can remember 9/11.
It's true. And this is the good conversation thread. This is the best one I wanted to bring up this whole time because it gets to the heart of it. You can be. I'm not saying that you can't agree with him and say that you want to have Confederate monuments for whatever reason. That's fine. I don't care. Have your monument. It's fine. But you also have to admit, in that same logic, listen to this conversation thread. I'm going to read them all, and then see what group that you're living in here. One person says, you don't see statues of Nazis, do you? The response is, this is America. The Confederates can put their statues in their own country. Sure. Response to that is, except they don't have a country, do they? Which is fucking perfect. And yeah, that was a joke. Yeah, that's the joke. Yeah, that was me laughing at the joke. And then
that's a whole bunch of insecure people trying to explain that either they were kidding or that they understood that the other person was kidding.
Then there was we should have a statue of Hitler, to which the response is, yeah, he did nothing wrong.
Oh, well, sorry, I don't have to respect anything you say now.
So keep in mind, if you're all about putting up Confederate statues, there are populations within your group that are going to look at you and go, yeah, because the Nazis are cool too.
That's your peer group.
That's your peer group.
Enjoy the company.
Enjoy it.
You Nazi fucking shit.
This one's good. The British have a statue of George Washington that sits outside the National Gallery in Trafalgar Square. I wonder why they would have a statue of a foreign general who beat them in war in their own country. Well, part of it's because... yeah, it's sort of me too, but part of it's also because he was also a prominent general during the 7 Years' War.
What?
He was a part of the English.
Wait a minute. He did something for them?
That
so
might
it's
have been
not
part
actually.
of it.
Do you think that the monument is to him during the 7 Years' War or during?
It definitely wasn't during the Revolution.
Revolution. No, it's not. It doesn't have a plaque all about the Revolution underneath it.
This one's good. It's more than what you just reduced it to, but go on ahead, get rid of it along with the rest of history, and then reshape it, all in your Marxist ways.
Says somebody. I'm making an assumption that this person is a conservative, and they're saying get rid of history, and like they literally want ban books. They're banning books. They're banning books.
Yeah, they're doing those things. Yeah. Yeah,
we don't want to get rid of history. We just think it's a stupid place to have it.
He says your Marxist ways. I'm pretty sure you're Marxist. So do we have the Communist Manifesto?
I don't think he understands Marxism.
on the camp.
I'm gonna guess that's just a buzzword that he's heard.
Probably.
That he knows it means something bad.
I do get a lot of,
Like
I bet you voted for Biden. Didn't vote for Biden. Or Trump, for anybody who thinks it might have been the other way.
I just pissed it away.
I did piss it away on a libertarian.
But he's in Indiana, so it doesn't matter what we vote.
George Jorgensen!
Indiana's going red, so
I went that way with it. Robert E. Lee was one of the best generals of all time. When the war started, the Union asked him to be their general, but he politely declined because he wanted to fight for the home state of Virginia. The CSA then asked him to become their top general, and he did in fact accept, which... All right, anyways, let's finish it up. The American Civil War had multiple reasons to start. The two biggest, in my opinion, is slavery and sectionalism. Robert E. Lee was an example of sectionalism. Bro's the kind of guy to destroy historical monuments. I have never destroyed a monument. I just make fun of stupid ones.
Yeah.
And let's break it down. There's the Lee was asked by Lincoln to fight for the North. Didn't happen. Preston Blair was a journalist who was a aide to Lincoln, who allegedly, according to Preston Blair, in a letter that he wrote in 1871, said that I spoke with Lincoln and on multiple occasions. Lincoln seemed excited about Robert E. Lee being the potential Army commander. So I took it upon myself to think that Lincoln wanted me to ask. He said Lincoln never ordered him directly to go ask Lee, but then he went and had a meeting with Lee and asked him to and then Lee goes, no. I don't believe that's a real legit offer. It doesn't seem like he ever had a meeting with his cabinet about it, and you're not in a position to give me that command. Lee admits himself in his own writings in 1868 that he never once had any idea to fight for the North. He never once had any idea to command the Northern armies, and he only had one conversation about that, which was with Preston Blair, who he thought was speaking for Lincoln, but didn't know for sure, and then it was the head of it. The Anaconda plan, the guy did that. Anyways, he went to him and then resigned his resignation, said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And then was a prominent member to get the Virginia to join the Confederates. And he was not actually offered the command of the entire Virginian armies right off the bat. He was more of a political figurehead for the first little chunk of the war for Traitor President Davis. It wasn't until about 1862 that he started taking over any substantial command. The first commands that he had in 1861 in West Virginia, he got the nickname Granny Lee by his own people because he kept running away. So, there you go for Lee.
That's your hero, Granny Lee.
This guy is in all caps, very mad. Leave history alone! What the fuck do we need that property for? Another golf course? If history is not readily available, it will repeat itself. All right, look, I'm wearing a Callaway.
Good point.
He does. I'm wearing a Callaway shirt. I'm wearing a Callaway hat. I have not golfed in years, and I don't feel the need to make.
I'd be fine with actually turning every golf course into a Confederate monument if you want to. If it gets rid of all the golf courses and golf courses,
I would be okay with that too.
I'm down with that.
I'd be okay with that too. My wife got this shirt for me at Costco.
I mean, you look like you're about to hit the.
I do look like I'm about to hit the. This comment, oh Kevin.
Okay.
That's it. Oh Kevin. Okay. I don't know.
That's the comment.
That's the comment. It's just oh Kevin. Who's Kevin?
Oh.
Is that like a male Karen? Is that what Kevin's supposed to be?
Is it?
You sick burn! I'm offended. It's still a part of our history. If we forget, it will repeat itself. Slavery is wrong in every way, but these figures in history need to be remembered.
Why?
Again, I don't think we're at any risk of racial slavery re-happening if we do or don't have a monument to Lee.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so.
I think it's probably allowing white nationalist Christianity to run the country that will put that back into place.
Oh, this is a good one. Your husband must be proud.
I am proud.
Thank you, Johnny.
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for insinuating that I'm homosexual. Or not. Who gives a fuck?
What's funny to me about that is that he's still using that as like a slur or like name calling or whatever, and it's like people don't care anymore.
No, nobody cares.
Like you are not in 7th grade in the 90s anymore. Nobody cares.
Does it get any more Reddit-esque than that voice? Apparently, I have a very Reddit-like voice. I don't.
Reddit voice.
I'm not super familiar with Reddit. That's just like.
Well, I don't know about it. I just assume it's like you. It's a very.
I didn't. I thought it was just like a forum thing, and I didn't think there was a lot of like audio or voice
Well,
stuff
I
with
think
it.
it's mostly he's like saying that you're like soapboxing and talking down a little bit, maybe a little pretentious, perhaps.
Maybe that could be it. Yeah, it's probably the touch.
I don't know. We're better than that person anyway, so it doesn't matter.
If only Lee wasn't a Confederate, he would have been considered one of the greatest generals in history. No, he wouldn't have. The war would have
Not
ended
a
the
single general in the Civil War should be considered one of the greatest
it would
generals.
have.
You want to know who a great general was? Fucking Alexander the Great.
Yeah, who actually like
who took over half the fucking world. That's a great general.
Genghis
Not
Khan?
a general who can't secede from a nation.
Not great people though.
Or generals that take 5 years to get half their country back after it tried to secede.
Yeah.
None of those are good.
None of them good. No, and it would have wound up with Grant in command anyways, because that's how it was going to go. Like, unless the war ended in the first 2 years, Grant was ultimately going to get command.
Shoulda.
Because, this guy must be great at parties. I think I am. In fact, pretty good at parties. Hey, we got another person that joined our live. We're up to 2.
That's more than I thought.
That is more than I thought we would ever have. So there we go. I thought we were just going to be talking to ourselves for 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what we're doing anyways.
So what? Cool. Thanks for that comment. That helps.
That's all right. If you don't,
this is
if
a
you
good one.
care enough to comment, you can't comment. So what? If you really feel like so what, you're not gonna comment. But you're not doing anything with it. What a waste of time.
This one is really good. Doesn't matter if they're a slave owner, you should still respect them.
Why?
No, it shouldn't.
No, fuck you. No. No. No, I don't respect a single Confederate. Have that. They're traitors. Get out of. You gotta respect them because they were people important. Fuck off. I do not have to respect anybody.
Nope, not a single
Holy
one.
shit.
Lee loved his country, and I love history. You can stop. That's a comment.
Well, he didn't love his country because he fought against it.
He loved Virginia.
That's a state.
Which is clearly
not a country.
more than.
He loved a belligerent nation enough to fight for it. That's not a real country, though.
Also not a real country.
Because guess what? The Confederacy's not real.
No, it sure
Never
isn't.
was.
They definitely disappeared pretty quick. These are some more recent comments that we got. This one's good. It's I did an episode on
still the Lee Memorial.
No, we're out of the memorials now. Those are all the memorials. They kind of petered out. U.S. Grant, I talked about him becoming the biggest commander of all the armies at the time. Like it was.
That's just the fact. Just factual.
Just a factual. Like when he took over command of all the American armies, it was the largest army in the world at the time. Very much at the time, but it was also because like nothing was going on in Europe. It was very calm and content. But the picture I chose has Grant with his hand in his pocket, and somebody commented, "It looks like he's playing pocket pool," which it sure shit does. Looked like he was playing some pocket pool.
I mean, to be fair, was it a photograph or was it a painting?
I know it was definitely a photograph.
Okay, well, I mean, you had to stand still for a while back then for a good photograph.
Robert E. Lee, the kidnapper. I did make a short talking about Robert E. Lee during his second invasion of the North into Pennsylvania. That a bunch of his armies stole a bunch of free men of color and then sold them into slavery.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's illegal. Even then, oddly.
Yeah,
it was
not
okay to do.
Not okay to do. The first comment on that one was lies. No such thing.
What?
No one would do such a thing. We got proof that it happened. Like there was over 60 of them that it happened. Yeah.
Why would you like?
This one was for us. It says, but they cry about northern aggression, which is also true. You can't be a northern aggression when you're getting invaded. At that point,
it's hard to be aggressive when they're invading you.
That ended. This one it says, I don't know if they were supposed to be saying biased in Union piled, but it just says based in Union piled. Sure.
What?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Yep. Let's go find another big thread with some comments. We did making fun of Northerners. Now we found a monument when we were in Gettysburg that said, "Walk by the street."
No, Lincoln.
Lincoln, that's the one. Lincoln walked by the street. And I said, why is this necessary? Which I understand.
You got a good answer to, actually.
I do understand why, but it's also still stupid. And the reason why is it's not pointless. They shall never cut it down. Cool. I don't think you really needed that monument to say...
Which means a giant sycamore tree is one day going to fall in one of those very, very old buildings.
Yes, it's going to happen.
That top's going to split and go right through the roof.
Nothing about Abe Lincoln is pointless. The finest president until Ronald Reagan. There are a couple of questions I have about that. Abe Lincoln.
Wow.
If you watch long enough, I make fun of the North. I make fun of the South. Lincoln was a dictator.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things
that
were unconstitutional.
He wanted to be.
He definitely wanted to be.
He tried
hard, very hard. He suspended habeas corpus. He arrested people for talking bad about him or the South, specifically journalists. He shut down some newspapers. And I would not say that Ronald Reagan was our greatest president either.
No.
Not that he. Yeah.
I can tell by that comment that I just disagree with that person.
Probably. It's fine.
Levels. That's all right. We can disagree.
Somebody said I would take that plaque and mount it above a communal toilet. Sure. So you can, which is appropriate because maybe Lincoln stopped and peed on that tree. So maybe that would be an appropriate. It would have been a more interesting plaque if Lincoln was arrested for public urination. Public urination, yeah.
By this tree.
Yeah. See, there's one that agreed with us. He says, I always find these types of monuments hilarious because they are. It's weird.
Yeah,
we're taking the time to make a plaque on something that's so.
It just goes to show the youth of our nation. Because we'll take anything that we can to be like, hey, this happened and it was important here.
Yeah. I did a thing on Hunley about it being the first successful military submarine. Yes, Hunley. And this person decided to correct me. So the submarine used in the Revolutionary War was the first. I said combat. The Revolutionary War One was not a combat submarine. It was a spy submarine. And it wasn't quite a submarine either. The whole entirety of
was it just like
the boat was the majority of it was underwater, but there was still like a viewport that was above the water.
It's like a floating.
So it's not like an iceberg. Yeah, it's not a quite or true submarine. And then another person said the first military successful submarine was a Turtle, again built for the Revolutionary War. To sink the blockade of an English warship, not the Confederate. It did not sink an English warship. That didn't happen. It didn't fucking happen. The first submarine to sink a boat was the Hunley, and it also sunk itself 3 times.
Well, it was supposed to. It was a submarine.
But we're killing the crew while it sunk itself.
Shoot, not supposed to do that.
Not quite supposed to. Not quite supposed to do that.
Billionaires, you taking notes? You're supposed to be able to resurface
on the submarines. I did make fun of the Continental Morgan Guard, which was a group of really rich, elite Southerners who wanted to play reenacting before reenacting was real, so they wore revolutionary clothes, and they got drafted by the Confederates into fighting, and there we go.
Yeah, they pretended too hard and then got recruited.
We got a comment here. I'm glad I really covered this with Nathan, but I got to figure out how to do the comments on this thing. Yes, they did remove the Nathan bed for Forest in Nashville. They also removed John Morgan's monument in Lexington, Kentucky. And by the way, that one was put up by the Daughters of the Confederacy,
who are they?
Which is basically a female version of the KKK. If you really look into their politics, so don't.
Lady KK.
Anyways, back to the Continental Morgan Guard. It says they ended up performing really well through the war. Unfortunately, ended up having to trade those fly uniforms in for gray and butternut later in the war. Our defense militia take a lot of the. Yeah, sure, they did. They actually performed okay. I just thought it was weird that they were wearing this ceremonial unit got drafted to fight with their flintlock muskets and Revolutionary War coats. So
sorry, y'all might get to see an accident live.
Well, not live because the camera's facing the different.
No,
behind us. See if we get rear-ended. Yeah, that might happen.
What is this?
So we had I talked about why the state, the South seceded, and I gave a bunch of quotes from their articles of
Which,
declarations
if
of
you're going to
secession.
try to find out why somebody did something, you go straight to the source.
Yeah, it goes straight to the source and says this is why several states said this is why we're seceding, and most of them were slavery.
Oh,
Well,
wanting to preserve the expansion of slavery in the current state of slavery.
currency, yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what it was. This guy, he says, I have a question. Love your video, by the way, but what a lot of Southerners say, the war was not about slavery. After the cotton gin, slavery was the backbone of the economy for the South, and how the South made that money off of slaves. And to be honest, it's wrong to own a person and treat them worse. This is a very run-on sentence. Treat them worse than animals. But look, if the South never held slaves, it wouldn't be no war at all. In my opinion, it's hard to not. Buddy, I don't.
I think I agree with him.
It was about slavery. There's a lot of people who will say the taxes, the tariffs, and the tariffs were designed to increase manufacturing in the United States. It was a tax on imported manufactured goods. So the southern cotton plantations, they were selling that cotton over to England, making their money that way, and then it was cheaper for them to buy the shirts from England than it was to make them at home. The North wanted to make industry better at home, so they taxed it so it was more affordable to make it at home. And the North built factories, and the South didn't.
I'll bet that doesn't come back to bite them.
And then in the war,
Uh-oh.
the North was able to make 1,1863 muskets in a year, and the South made like 100,000
And some smokes.
total through like the entirety of the war.
With tobacco, though.
That didn't help. This guy said slavery definitely wasn't their motive, but they still hated their northern. Definitely wasn't their motive, but they still hated their northern neighbors. Oh no, definitely was their motive. Sorry, slavery definitely was their motive. I need help reading. But they still hated their northern neighbors for profiting from slavery and textiles, which they did. Yeah, the North definitely fucking profited from the institution of slavery.
Okay, and like their slaves hated them for profiting off of them.
I'm sure the slaves weren't all that too happy about it. Why is it always just this? Oh, it's just shorts. That's why I looked at the shorts. I was only in the shorts videos. Let's go find another video with a lot of comments on it. We'll start addressing some of those. I should do the Lee was shit one, because that had some people mad, but I think we've already covered that enough.
Yeah, well, Lee, I mean, good God, he's got like his fan base. It's basically Swifties.
Ooh, I need the Third Mormon War thing. That had a lot of people mad. That had a lot of Mormons mad.
Why were they mad about that?
Because I called them out for murdering and massacring a bunch of people. Remember?
Oh yeah, when they did the thing, and then you said they did the thing, and people got upset
that they did the thing.
That they did it. Yeah. I don't get why people get mad about information being shared.
It is.
I also don't understand why we're going 5 miles an hour.
Yeah, this traffic is kind of bullshit. It is taking us way long. We were supposed to get to Chattanooga at 4:20, and we're not going to get to Chattanooga at 4:20 now. And that's a little disappointing. For Johnny, that is.
Why for me specifically? I don't
know.
Understand.
Just making observed comments. That's all. Where the hell is that? I don't remember. The problem is I don't remember the name of that video.
No.
And that video was a while ago. There it is. Utah War.
Oh yeah, Utah War. That's right.
Yep. AKA the Third Mormon War. All right. If you're a Mormon, the one guy still watching, Brett. Who's it, Brett?
Brett, you Mormon?
If you're a Mormon, Brett, I'm gonna make you mad. So
also, maybe.
Yeah. It's in a nutshell, the Third Mormon War. The Mormons were kicked. Atheists. Okay. Good for you, Brett.
Attaboy.
Not going to be mad at this then. You might find it entertaining. Essentially, Third Mormon War, they didn't want any foreigners to come through their territory, because they're like, we're isolationists now. And to be fair, they got exiled a couple times, and for good reasons. And then while a group of settlers were passing through, they Mormons dressed up as Indians attacked them and then murdered every single one of them. Like 200 and some odd people got murdered. And so these are the response got. And a quote here: "Hell no, polygamy was not a response to lots of men dying and leaving too many women. First of all, it started back in Illinois with Joseph Smith,
So
and it left
polygamy
a lot
was a response?
of." She's saying it's not.
Oh, no.
Unwed men in Utah because there wasn't enough women to get around, with the most powerful men taking dozens of wives. The death rate across the mitigation was even higher than average, so no, 1,000 times no. And she's partly right. The polygamy started with Joseph Smith before the move out west. It didn't help with the move out west with the death rates the way they were. And she is also right, and I have to admit that a lot of it was Joseph Smith wanted to have a lot of women. His own wife wound up leaving the church because she goes, this is not, and by wife I mean the original wife. The reason why he set up the whole church was to impress this woman's father, and like I'm so awesome, I made up my own religion, and then he fucked her over by having multiple wives. So yeah, there's that one. This one is, I think it's disgraceful, prejudiced, and bigoted that modern-day Mormons are not allowed to have the practice of polygamy and peace when homosexuals are allowed, transgenders are allowed, even the opposite of polygamy is allowed.
No,
polyamory is not allowed in the United States. It's not. That's not.
You're just a misogynist.
That's all it is.
You are a creep. Also, you wouldn't be able to be a polygamist.
He says it's just discriminate and prejudice that one deviant behavior is allowed. They should
Which
be
is
all...
the deviant behavior? Homosexuality is what?
He's saying homosexuality, transgender is deviant.
Okay.
But he's also admitting in that statement by saying if one is allowed, we should allow the other. So his deviant of polygamy is also allowed too. In his own little mind there. It is. I
don't think I like this person.
No,
I don't think
not.
I want to be there for him.
Somebody said ex-Mormon here from Utah. Love the whole video.
Hi, ex-Mormon.
Yeah. Hey, ex-Mormon.
Congratulations.
Congratulations from getting out of that church. For those of you who don't know, I'll share a little personal story. I dated a Mormon. I got real close to marrying that Mormon. In fact, had to get...
Is that the redhead?
No, that wasn't the redhead. That was the Mormon. She was blonde head. She was freshman year of college.
Okay, gotcha.
And I had to go to the church and like learn a lot of their weird, like they pray, like they get all grumpy and they cross their arms and hold it.
Why they get so grumpy?
I don't know. It's the way they do it. And so I'm not speaking completely out of my ass. I do know a lot about the that particular religion. Cult. Yeah, sure. And to be fair. We're going to lose Chattanooga. Join us next week when we drive somewhere else.